Hello to all my young art students. So, welcome to class because in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to use color pencil and watercolor together to make your picture pop. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight to the drawing table and start drawing. Oh, and I'm going to draw a sunflower, which is why I'm wearing orange today. All right, so let's go get drawing. All right, young artists, welcome to the drawing table. Now today I'm going to show you guys how to draw using watercolor and color pencil. So I guess that would be how to paint and draw. Now a lot of you may just use watercolor alone, and a lot of you just may use color pencil alone. But I'm going to show you how to make your picture just pop out when you use both together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a quick sunflower, something easy that you can draw and follow along. And I'm going to start it out with watercolor and then use the color pencil because it just makes it look better. Now, one thing about this channel, I will always teach you how to become a better artist. You're an artist already, or you would not be on looking at this channel because you're an artist. But I always give you advice and tips to make you a better artist, because it's not all about the fact that you can draw. It's more about how can I draw, or what can I use to make something better. And a lot of teachers and channels don't tell you those things. So I'm going to tell you these things in every video. So first of all, we all know what a sunflower looks like. If not, then you can get an image of a sunflower. So it's a circle, basically. Now, it's hard to do a circle free-handed. So there are tools that you can use to draw circles like this template, but a lot of times these circles might be too small. So there are things around the house that you can use as a guide, like a top from a jar itself, maybe a cup. Put the cup down and draw around it, maybe the top to the cup. So there are different size things that you can always use to do your circles. I have some more stuff on my desk, even, a bowl. Maybe you have a carry-out bowl. You could do that and you say, like, that's a good size. Or even the top is even a little bigger. So there are different type circles or different size circles that you can use by just getting something from around the house, a glass, a cup, anything that you can use for that. So let me start out by I like this one. So I'm going to use this one. It might be a little big. Let's do the cup. Let's do the cup because I want a fairly good size sunflower, but I need room for the petals. And as we go along, I will share some more. So let's do the cup. Now, also, it depends on what you draw with, because anytime you introduce water to your pencil or pen, sometimes water doesn't go well with certain things. And I'm looking for something. I think I'm going to do this in pencil. So let me just do my circle around my cup. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's one thing that really gets young artists mad, or even old artists mad, if something doesn't come out right. But nobody's perfect. I know artists that are just older than me, and things still don't come out right. But what you do is you just step back. You look at it, you say, it's not that bad. You either try to fix it or you can start again. But you never get frustrated. I know so many people that just get mad and tear the thing up and throw it down and say to themselves, I can't draw. And you never, ever, ever, ever say what you cannot do, because your brain is like a computer and you're programming it to say whatever is negative. Like, I can't draw. And then when you start to draw one day, your brain says, hey, you can't draw. You've been saying that for a long time. So you never ever want to say, I can't do something like that. Don't look at anybody else's picture and say he's better than me. That person might be drawing for years and years, and you might have just started like 6 months ago. So with anything, practice. What is it? Practice makes perfect. So if I want to play basketball and I go outside and I shoot the ball one time a day, I'm not going to get good. But if you go out there and you shoot that ball 100 times a day, you'll get better than me. And it's the same with drawing. You just have to do it over and over again. So let me draw. Let me show you this. Let me do a rough one real quick. This is the center. And as I said, nobody can draw a circle. And these are your petals, okay? So you don't want to draw your petal just side by side, just like that. And a petal is just like, it's like a football. You always do shapes. Whenever you draw something, everything is a shape. I can show you things that they're shapes. Everything is a shape. Once you master those shapes, then you become a better artist quicker. All right, so you want to have some of those petals behind it, and that's called drawing through. So if I drew a square right here, and I wanted to draw another square in front of that, you just draw that second square, and then you just erase the part that you see because you drew through your front picture, or you drew through your back picture, like that. So that's all draw through is. So when you're doing petals, you don't want every petal just sticking on the sides. You want some behind it, some in front. So that's just drawing through. So let me just do this real quick. Do some petals. I want to draw through a couple of them, and they don't have to be perfect because no flower is perfect. No shape in nature is just square or round. I'll put one back here. Put one back here. Put one here and here. Now you can put as many petals as you want on there. I'm just doing really quick for time. Put one here and here. So if I ink this with an ink pen, not an ink pen, more of an ink marker. There are so many different markers, as I say, that you can use that some will react to water and some won't. Like if you do a Sharpie, never do a drawing in a Sharpie if you plan on coloring that drawing or wetting it. So anything that I don't want to be seen or anything I want to push back, I'll just erase. Like I will erase this and this. So don't be afraid to erase, because when you erase, what that says is, oh, I recognize something's not right, so let me fix that. That's all erasing is. So don't think, oh, I have to erase something. Yeah, yes, you need to erase it if it's not right, and you can come back and fix it again. Because when you erase something and you redraw it, that just means that you're drawing more. And the more you draw, the better you become as an artist. Okay, I think that's going to be good right there. Now, I've got it drawn. Now, one thing about sunflower seeds is they have the little, I don't know, I guess it's the seeds that are in here. Now what I'm going to do is use another, I'm not going to draw so many, all of these, because that would take a minute. I can speed it up and draw it, but then when time comes to color it, that takes time as well. So what I'm going to do is, all right, so what I had decided to do was I'm going to ink this. I was just going to do it in pencil, but I want it to be dark enough so that you guys can see. So I think I used the cut top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this with this. This is a marker brush. It just basically has a brush on it. So I'm going to do this. Remember, you don't worry about, it has to be perfect all the time. You're just doing that. Now I'm going to do the petals. And this also gives it a little more life, a little more character, because it's not so straight like the pencil. As you can see, it gives it more of a wavy kind of line to it. It makes it not so still and not so stressed. And it also allows me to see what I need to erase at the same time. And another thing is good is because of this, the way it's made, the point on it, I can have a very thin line, or I can bear down harder and have a thicker line. So if I just lightly touch it, I can have that thin line. And if I just bear down, I can have a thicker line. And that is good for the look of something having shadow on it. And we will talk about shadow and light and drawing a picture and using shadow later in another video. As I said, I'm going to teach you guys everything about art that I know, and I'll put one back here, to make you a better artist. Oh, and whenever you ink a picture, always turn your picture. I used to teach in an art school, and the head teacher would have everybody to tape their paper down. Don't do that, because you want your paper to be able to move with your hand so that it can flow the same way your hand does. You don't tape your wrist down and then draw like that. So why would you tape your paper down? You want your hands and your arms to flow. Especially when you're doing something in nature. Now, if you're drawing a city and you're drawing some buildings or a house, then I can understand you want just that straight. But if you're doing something like a person or something in nature, something that moves, then you want your picture to flow as well. As I said, information. Knowledge to me is more important than skill, because you might be able to draw something, but you don't know why you're drawing it, or actually the reason that you're drawing it. All right, so now we have this sunflower. Now, a couple things I want to go over before we actually start is color pencils, or our color pencils. Let me show you my color pencil collection. Did I even grab it? Let me show you my color pencil collection. Now, I have been drawing for I don't know how many years. Let me move this so this won't get messed up. I don't know how many years. So I have been collecting so many different pencils. These are the ones that I use now. These are the pencils that I use now. I just keep them in this bucket, because these are the ones I use now. These are the ones that I've collected over time. And one good thing to do is, if you are someone that has a lot of different color pencils, it's best to get the shades. Like these are not the same brand color pencils. Some of them let's say I got from Walmart, some I ordered online. So they're different brands, which gives you different tones, put it that way. So a good thing to do is collect all your tone color pencils and put them together. So if you need blue or different shades of blue, you already have it together, versus having to rummage through all your pencils trying to find that particular color. So that's a good idea for you to do, and it keeps your art stuff really neat as well. Now, another thing is, color pencils, just like watercolors, they are all different, because, let's get this again, it's the material that a pencil is made out of. I have a favorite brand, and then I have some that are just, not really expensive, which I don't want to say cheap, but just let's say you cheap color pencils. Let me just grab one. Now, this is my favorite color, Colortech, which is really hard to find. And then this is I think it's Faber-Castell. But anyway, it's made from different materials, so it goes down differently. Some kind of goes down chalky, and some kind of goes down powdery, and some are brighter, and some are duller. And that's the one thing about color pencils. You have to find a brand that you like, a good brand that you like, that fits you. Some, you can blend them well, and then others, you can't blend them well. And that's one thing about color pencils, because whenever you start to draw, you want to be able to blend your colors. So something to keep in mind. And that's the same thing as watercolors. Watercolors are not always the same. Let me pull these out real quick. Now, I have a bunch of different watercolors, and this Prang, these are my favorite, and let me show you why. As soon as you see them, you see like the rich, bright colors of the paint, whereas you get something that is, that you get from like the dollar shelf, and you see the colors, you see how dull the colors are. So some watercolors will go on duller than the other ones. You see like this rich blue, and this blue here, which is not as rich. So that's another thing about watercolors. You find watercolors that you like that are going to be bright and vibrant and goes on quite well. As I said, I have been drawing for years and years and years. Probably about 40 years now, at least 40 years. I started drawing out when I was a kid, young kid. I loved comic books, and this is why I draw comics. And I've just been drawing ever since. So you have to get some good watercolor that are vibrant. Now, another thing is that you see these on the side. A lot of parents will probably say, if you've done watercolors and you had, let's say you had a jar or a glass of water and you keep doing it and you knock your water over and it spills everywhere, your parents probably get on you about it and say, oh, I don't want you to use that because you keep messing up, you keep making a mess. These are watercolor or paint brushes. The difference between this and a regular brush is that you can hold the water inside there. You can get a set, and each set has different size brushes, and the brushes stay together quite well. So you have that fat one, you have this little skinny one. So you can get sets with different size brushes, and the water is inside. This one has the water inside already. I put water inside, and it makes it a lot easier and a lot cleaner. So all you have to do is you unscrew this, and you either hold it under the sink or you take an eyedropper and you put water in it. And the same thing for paint. You can put paint in it as well. If you mix your paint, put your water in your paint, and take an eyedropper, and you can squeeze, you can't see that, you can squeeze the water, the paint into the brush. That way, you will always have your color ready. So if you had, say, like 8 or 10 of these, and each one has a different color in it, then you can just pick it up and then use your color that you want and blend it. And it cleans out very well. You can actually squeeze the water, and the water will drop out, and it will clean the brush. So let's get back to our picture, and we will discuss more why you should use watercolor and color pencil together. All right, so we know that the sunflower is yellow, and you have the seeds in it, and then we'll do that with something else later. Maybe I'll use the brush. We'll see. So the first thing, let's find a good yellow. Now, if I try to, this is my favorite color tech. If I try to do this whole picture with yellow, eventually it will, the same way you see here, it will have those streaks in it. It won't be one solid yellow because it has those streaks. You see like the white and the yellow is not mixing. And a lot of times you can turn your paper and you can go the other way. And then you can turn your paper and you can go the other way. But that takes a lot of time. So it's easier. This looks good because these are, as I said, these are, to me, some of the best pencils on the market, Color Tech. So with the cheaper ones, it doesn't work. So, but to do all this, it will take forever. So that's why it's best to lay down your first coat or first couple coats. Let me bring this back because I'm going to need this with watercolor. Let me erase some of these. Let me get my big eraser. You want to erase your pencil because once you get your watercolor down, you're not going to be able to erase that. And this is one reason why I went and inked it. All right, so Shake it off. And this is cardstock. This paper is cardstock. Cardstock is just thick paper. If you look at this paper, watercolors just fell. This is your regular copy paper, and this is cardstock. This is a heavier paper, so it's good to get some cardstock. Probably, I think it's 110. It's called weight. Paper is measured by weight, not how much it weighs, like 50 pounds, but it's how thick it is. And this would be like, I think this is 110. So if you ever get cardstock, try to find, or if you ever get paper to draw on, try to find the heaviest weight paper so that you can draw on. And I'm bending down trying to pick up my watercolors because I want to use these watercolors. These are my favorite. The Prang is my favorite. So you want to have a rag, and let me get my brush. This is a fat brush right here. And if you could see my drawing table, you'd be like, wow. But I think everybody has a messy drawing table if you're a serious artist. Now, the one good thing about this is, the water's inside the brush already, so I can just squeeze it, and then you will see the water. You'll see it coming through here, and it'll go into the brush, and you see it dripping out. I don't know if you can see that dripping out. Yeah, you can see it dripping out. So that eliminates the jar of water that you have to dip and dip and dip. You just let it drip out in your paint. I'm going to use a little orange too. So I'm going to wet that up. Yellow, and this one is, I think this is always, it's maybe a little darker, but I'm going to do that. Just let it sit for a second, and then you go ahead and mix your yellow up. So imagine me having this brush full of yellow paint. I can just start painting right away. So, and the top, you have the top will actually fit on the back, so you won't lose your top. All right, so let's start coloring this thing. Now I'm going to speed this up because this is just going to be my base coat, so it's nothing really important about this other than you want to try and stay in your lines. So I'm going to speed this up right now. All right, so there you have it. I have my yellow base down. And one thing about the difference between paper is whenever paper gets wet, it's going to bend up. It's going to bend up. So that would be my only time that I would even try to tape some paper down so the paper won't bend. But it depends on how much water you put on your paper, and it depends on the type of paper. You never want to use copy paper, ever want to try to introduce water to copy paper. So this didn't take too long. But imagine if I had tried to use color pencil, it would have took all day to do that. So now that I have this down, I'm going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back to the next step. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention was the clean out is easy. You just squeeze the brush, and then it'll actually automatically start cleaning your paint off of your brush. I don't know why I have it to the side. Use water, and then you have a clean brush, because there's nothing but clean water coming out of here anyway. So whatever paint is there, it's going to drip off. And you see, I didn't make a mess anywhere. I didn't have anything to spill. So these brushes are wonderful things. And I will leave a link in the description to where you can buy these brushes or sets. You can buy them singular, or you can buy sets. I think the biggest set might have been a set of 12, but don't quote me on that. But I will leave a link to that. So let me continue and let this dry. All right, I am back, and I kind of cheated. I put it in front of my fan so it can dry quickly. So now we have our first coat down. Now I can do a second coat. It depends on if I choose to. Let's just say I want everything like pure yellow like this. I'm not going to do the whole thing for time, so I'm going to, for time's sake, so let's just say I'll do a couple leaves, and I will just make it a little darker. like this. I know you say, well, Brian, where does the color pencil come in? It's coming in, don't worry about it. So I'll just say this one and that one, because the ones in the back, you might want to be darker. And let me just do this little thing right here with a few, because I'm going to do a lot of color pencil. So something that is in front of something else is going to put a shadow, is going to put some type of a shadow over it because it's covering it. So any leaf or any petal that's in front of something else, I would make just a little darker. Let me use this one. I think this is a darker yellow. So if you're a watercolor user alone, you kind of already know this. Or if you just started using watercolor, you might not know this. But as I say, I'm going to get into more light and shadow videos as we go along. I'm going to get into light and shadow videos just to show you guys, as I say, to become a better artist. So you see, just by going a little darker and putting the darker behind, and you notice it kept the point. This keeps the point where if you get I don't like to use the word cheap. Let's just say non-expensive brushes. The brushes don't hold the point, but this is, it's not hair, it's more of a plastic type, and it will hold the point, period. So let me do this last one because I don't want to paint everything because I have to stop and let it dry. And I taped it. I don't know if I said I taped it down because the more water you use on paper, the more it's going to start to curl. So as I say, this is the only time I would tape something down, but it doesn't allow you to move freely, which is something I don't like. And one good thing about this is, let's say right here, if I want this is too thick or yellow, I can squeeze just a little water. You have to get that control. Let me bring this in where you can see. You have to get that control of the brush where you know when water is going to drop out or not. I can squeeze it and make it thinner, and then I can fade this out more so it won't be such a hard color change. So that's another good thing about this brush and using watercolor. So let me just, this particular one right here, he just has no color. So let me add just a little bit of color to this guy before I get into the color pencil. I'm not trying to do a whole entire watercolor video, but I want to do the color pencils. I want to show you what the difference between putting the color pencils together with watercolor. And as an artist, I keep seeing things. And I'm like, oh, I want to change this. I want to add to this. And that's an artist thing. That's you as an artist. You see stuff and you say, oh, let me add to this or let me add to that. But there's a point where I have found out a number of times where you have to just stop. You can't, because there's a wrecking point. There's a point where you go too far and you're like, why did I do that? So yeah, you have to know your limits of, what you want to put where. So I'm going to stop. I'm fighting myself. I'm going to stop. So I'm going to let this dry and I'm going to introduce color pencils to this. Actually, I can do it at the top, but I don't want to put my hand there. But since this is the magic of YouTube, I can cut this and come right back to doing color pencils. All right, I cheated again. I used my fan, but it's dry. So as I said, I taped this down. I kind of taped it down because the paper will bend on you. Even watercolor paper will bend on you. But there is a tape that you can peel off and put back on, and it won't tear your paper up. Regular tape will kind of tear your paper, but I didn't have that. I ran out of that tape a long time ago. I forgot the name of it, but I will try to leave a link in the end. Hopefully I'll leave a link of everything that I use, or you can get if you want to start doing watercolor and color pencils in the description below. So okay, we'll go back again. Now let's introduce some color pencils. I want to still introduce watercolor, but I'm going to use color pencils as well. So as I said, if you wanted to just everything, you didn't want the light and dark in there, which is beautiful because watercolor is known for that. You just wanted the whole thing one solid color. Once you get your first base coat, then you can come back with a color pencil, and I'll do this one. And it's easy. And even if you leave some gaps in between, you really won't see that because you already have that yellow base down. It's easier, it's quicker, and your parents don't have to worry about a mess. So you see that? Now I have like one basic color already down. One good thing about that. So now let's go orange, because sunflowers are orange. And I'm going to do both. I'm going to do watercolor and color pencil, but I want to kind of get into the color pencil. So let's just use this. And the thing about color pencil is you can get so much detail into it because of the sharpness of your pencil. So let's just do this one here. And as I was saying, the difference between color pencils are some go down bright, just like watercolors. Some go down brighter than others, and then the material that it's made of. So I can do, and I'm doing this very lightly. You start out when you use color pencils, you don't use a lot of pressure. And I'll do a video on color pencils alone, and I'll do a video on watercolor alone. But this one is to do both. Kind of like you got your cake, you got your dessert before you had to finish your meal. Because you don't always want everything the same color. You don't want everything just all solid orange, all solid blue. You want shades in between anything you color. So now that I have this down, I can go even darker. Let's just say here. So I'll go back over. I'll press down a little bit more to make that a little darker. So it's about using pressure. When you use color pencils, it's about using pressure. So, but there's only so much you can get out of this, meaning this will only go so orange. Okay, I can press down and press down and press down and go over and go over and go over it, and it'll only get so orange. So then you have to go to a different shade. So I'll go here, and again I'm going lightly before I decide to press down hard. So I'm going to go here, start from the bottom. And again, as I say, some pencils will blend really good and some won't. And then I will come up a little bit, leaving those little streaks in the petals that they have. And then as you can see, it's already just brighter. With that watercolor and that color pencil on top, it becomes a really, really bright color and picture that stands out. And even with the lighter tone up here, it just all works together. Now, when I was going to school, they never showed us how to do this. They just showed us how to use color pencil, and then they showed us watercolor. They never introduced both together. So let me do one using the watercolor. So I've got my orange here. My table is at an angle, and everything likes to slide. So let me just get a little bit of orange, because I don't want it to be so orange right away and you don't see this. So let me pull this on camera so that you can see this. So this is the top. These are what the tops are for, so that you can put your watercolor into that and then use it. So let me move this over. And then you always have your sheet of paper that you can see what color you're using. So let me do a comparison here. So if I do this, and I'll do this. The only thing is, bad thing, that's just the only bad thing is I'm introducing more water to that paper, which means that paper is now starting to break down. And two is the paper is wet again, so I have to let it dry. So this is why you get your base coat of watercolor. Even if you had to, add a second color, you get your base coat and you do your detail with your color pencil. Because I added water to this yellow, it's actually breaking the yellow down more, whereas the color pencil stayed that way. If you can really tell, you can see I use the orange, a bright orange, but now it's brown, whereas this one is more orange to it. So I'm going to do a couple more, and I'm going to add color pencil to the watercolor that I just added. And then later I'm going to cut to a finished product using both color pencil and watercolor. You see, this one was behind, so I'm going to keep that one just kind of like mostly orange. And you can, again, you can squeeze your water till you see the drop, and that will water it down a little bit, and then you won't have as much orange. So I'm going to do 2 more, and then I'm going to let it dry again. You know, as artists, we are in a rush to finish a picture. If we get a picture going, we just want to finish it real quick. This is why, you know, you might not have the patience to say, "Oh, I gotta let this dry. I want to hurry and continue this." So I want to do just on camera. I want to do this. So again, we're going to do light and dark. So if the sun is shining overhead, it's going to be putting the light up here, and the shadow is going to be down here. This is kind of why I made that a little darker. So let me introduce some orange to this. That's too bright, so let me squeeze some of that orange out. And as I say, the more water you introduce to your paper, the more your paper starts to break down. So unless you have like some seriously good watercolor paper, then you don't want to add too much water to your paper. Even this is a thicker paper. It's holding well, but if I keep adding and keep adding more color and keep adding more color, eventually it'll start to tear apart. So now I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to introduce color pencil to this and show you how much it pops out more. All right, so again, letting it dry. Okay, back again. Now it's dry again. I've been using my fan. As I said, I cheated. So let me introduce color pencil to the newly dried watercolor. So, and it has to be dry, really dry, because it's dry, but it's not all the way dry. So once you get a certain shade, as I say, you have to go darker, because you can bear down as hard as you can or as hard as you want, but it's only going to go a certain shade of whatever color that is that you have. And back here. And I'll do all the ones that I colored, and this guy's not really dry, because if it's not completely dry, it'll dig right into your paper and kill your drawing right away. So now let me go a little darker, pull out another one, and then go even darker for this. As I said, you can add really good detail because of the sharpness to the pencil. You can do that with the brush as well, because the brush has a point on it, so it will work as well, but not as good as the pencil. So I'm only going to add color to the ones that I've done watercolor to. This is color pencil. So, and let me do this. And again, this is the bad part about taping your paper down, because you should be able to turn it versus turning your wrist. So let me just do this kind of an angle here. And add some here, because this is round. And anytime you have a ball, you're going to get shadow on the edges of your ball. I don't have one here that I could show you, but let's just trust me on that one, because the light is going to hit the very top, and then as you go around, it's going to get a little faded more. So there you have my beginning of my sunflower. Now I'm going to go even darker. I'm going to try to find my color pencils, which I just threw down, and kind of almost go into a reddish brown color, just to give it that little more pop to it. Can you see that? Let me sharpen it real quick. And as I said, different pencils have different tones. Is that dark enough? Let me go even darker. Let me try purple. Let's see what a purple will do. Dark purple. Great example. Purple is good. So we had great example. Two different color pencils. Some blend better than others. Let's try this one. Some are softer and some are harder. This one blends a little better. Because this is more of a softer pencil. Not my favorite, but so the inside of this is yellow. The inside of sunflower is still yellow, but it's more darker because all the seeds that are on there. So let me darken this even more. And see, if it wasn't taped, I would be able to turn it around. Because this is the top, let me go with a darker orange and not the purple. All right, so let me add the little seeds to this. And you can add this two ways. You can do it in color pencil, or you can do it in the watercolor. Let me add some color to my black. And let that soak in. And I've had this, oh my God, I don't know how many years. It had to be over 25 years. This paint, I've had this when I was young. And it's still working. So you can do this two ways. Let's do a color pencil. Let me get a color pencil first, or I can do a marker. But I want to go color pencil first. I want to get black. And the seeds are just round. The reason I would even consider using the color pencil or the watercolor is because it would be a little quicker. But the bad thing is when you put different, how can I say, if I put these dots too close together with the watercolor, they'll bleed into one another. In other words, let me see if I can do that with this paper. I'll show you. I can't move this because I taped it down. So if I take my black and I spot here and I put another spot too close, then eventually the water will just suck into one another, and then you will lose that shape you have. So let me just do a couple here. And as I say, it will, if you get too close, it's a lot quicker. But if you put too much water down too close, they will bleed into each other, and you will lose that shape that you have, or that shape that you want. just like I'm losing it there. So let me go black again, more darker. And then I'm going to do the rest of this off camera to save time, but it's just about, so there are certain times you want to use a watercolor and there are certain times you want to use your color pencil. But remember, the more water you introduce to your paper, the more it kills your paper. All right, so let me cut this and I'll be right back with that finished product. All right, young art students, here we are with the finished product. I had to untape it so I can turn it around, and I added a few more extra colors to it to kind of make it pop out. But this is what you get. I mean, it could have took forever to add like the little seeds and flowers. And I even tried to add a little white, but white is one of the hardest colors to add to watercolor, color pencil. You have to kind of leave an open area for white in there. So I left this lighter and made this a little darker. So anyway, this is the result that you get when you add watercolor to your color pencil. And I did some little leaf down there just because. So hopefully you got some extra knowledge, because I believe knowledge is 70% and skill is 30% when it comes to art. Because as I said, you need to know why you're doing it, not just to be able to do it, why and how and what's the effects of you doing certain things in certain ways. So this is going to be it for this video. And yeah, write me, leave me a comment, ask me some things that you want to see and want me to draw, and I'll do that for you guys. So I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed, and subscribe. And if you are new to the channel, tell a friend. I always say that. Tell a friend, have that friend subscribe and learn something new as well. All right, I will see you guys in the next video.